Welcome to Canadian Innovators, the show that celebrates innovation, entrepreneurs, and the Canadian spirit. My name is Catherine Swift, and every week we introduce a new entrepreneur or expert on a relevant business topic to tell their stories and address the challenges of keeping jobs in Canada and discuss potential solutions for job growth and prosperity. Today I'll be speaking with Jack Mintz, PhD economist, President's Fellow, School of Public Policy at the University of Calgary, director on a number of corporate boards, senior fellow at Massey College, former president of the C.D. Howe Institute, economics professor at a number of business schools over the years, tax policy expert, and Order of Canada recipient. Dr. Mintz has also been a consultant to such entities as the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and the OECD. If I read all of your resume, Jack, it would take up about half of our interview, so I thought I'd leave it there for now, if that's okay with you.
Oh, that's perfectly fine.
Welcome to the show. Now, you and I were chatting about a month and a half, I think it was, ago, about some comments that were made by our current finance minister, Chrystia Freeland, at the annual World Economic Forum meeting in Davos, Switzerland. And I was quite concerned by Freeland's comments that she foresaw an extensive retooling, as she put it, of the manufacturing sector, largely to incorporate all of those climate-related goals that this Liberal government is prioritizing over other concerns. How did you perceive Freeland's comments at Davos this year?
Well, I think there's a difference between manufacturing being retooled because manufacturers want to retool, and that happens when you have changing markets. And obviously, one of the things that is going to happen in the coming years will be some sort of energy transition. It's already happening, and so there will be a retooling that's going to be needed. But she was really referring to the fact that the federal government has to pour billions and billions and billions of dollars out to support manufacturing and the retooling of manufacturing according to what the federal government would like to see. And I think that's going to be a huge mistake.
Yes, I think our manufacturing members certainly found it quite insulting, actually, that she made those comments, because they naturally know their business. And unfortunately, we haven't seen a lot of indications that this government is terribly familiar with a lot of the business sectors. You have written and commented quite extensively on the current federal government approach to industrial strategy in general. And it often appears to be a throwback to those old interventionist approaches we've seen in the past, and that have been pretty much abject failures in every instance. And I wonder if you could please elaborate on what you believe this government is doing wrong in that sense and why.
Well, there's two types of policies that one can introduce, to let's say, influence the industrial structure. In other words, having some sort of industrial policy. And we can have a debate about whether industrial policy is needed. Usually entrepreneurs and innovators kind of figure out best about, how to achieve things. But if you do accept governments having, some role, then the question is how best to do it. And there are two ways that you can really mess things up. And one of them is you actually pick winners and losers. You pick the firms, for example, that, should be carrying out the activity. So throw a whole bunch of money at a couple of companies that are doing electric vehicle battery production. You don't know whether those companies are actually going to be the ones to succeed in the future, like Volkswagen's and Stellantis. Maybe they will, but they're not Tesla, and they're not the major Chinese ones that are coming along the way. So we'll have to see what actually happens. But sometimes what you're better doing, if you're going to have some sort of industrial policy, is a bit like what the United States is doing right now under the Inflation Reduction Act, which is to simply say, here's a huge subsidy that we're going to give for let's say carbon capture, utilization, storage activities, or wind and solar, and anybody can basically qualify as long as they satisfy certain conditions, and that, I think, it sort of takes out some of the discretion that's involved, and I think that's a far better approach than what's being used in Canada right now.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. And I think, too, having dealt with governments of all political stripes for decades, I often find things like governments will actually say, oh, no, we can't do it there because that's not a riding that our MPs are sitting in right now. Oh, that's a conservative or that's a liberal riding. We have to do it in our own party's riding. And that, of course, is not a great decision factor. Well, we're going to take a quick break now, so please stay tuned to Canadian Innovators.